Be sure to subscribe for your chance to win a custom leather playmat when we hit 2,500 subscribers. Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games Discord. Here we've got Ben on Burn versus Josh on Rug Delver. A matchup that often defines legacy play for a lot of players. The early stages for many legacy players is Burn. Certainly not just a deck for beginners or anything like that. It just happens to be an extremely affordable deck, made even more affordable recently with the printing of Goblin Guide and Double Masters, just completely crushing the value of that card. And there he is, Goblin Guide, turning sideways, and it does actually feed Josh a land. And that is a pretty significant drawback. It is worth playing for sure. There is no better option, but man, it is pretty significant. Is that the Godzilla mountain there? Ben just giving us a look at his mountain. Turn 1 Delver versus turn 1 Goblin Guide, kind of classic play here. Often this matchup does end up kind of coming down to who goes first. That Delver of Secrets, not exactly in blocking mode, but this Force of Negation does let Ben know that he's going to have a tough time resolving a game-winning spell like Price of Progress or Fire Blast, as long as that card's around. Delver does flip, of course, with that Force of Negation. Daze hitting Eidolon of the Great Revels. Blue-red Delver, maybe one of the strongest Delver builds, but a lot of people are playing green. There's Rug, Bug, all sorts of different ways that you can go. Green does give you access to Oko, which can potentially let you play more along the mid-range lines. We've got a Rift Bolt, and that is one of the more interesting elements of Burn versus Delver strategies. Is Burn can definitely kill the Delvers. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to have a ton of spells that can easily kill a 2 toughness creature. It really becomes a question of whether or not that ends up being correct. Another Delver. And the larger bug gets squished. And, ooh, Grim Lavamancer. Oh, and interesting there, too. Grim Lavamancer sneaking past Force of Negation, Force of Will now being drawn for turn. But if this Grim Lavamancer's left alive, he can be a real wrecking ball. Let's see if Josh has an answer for it. Oh, and green signals that this might be an Oko. Grim Lavamancer, just a 1/1, but he is not going to be happy to be upgraded to an Elk. Oh, and Josh actually valuing the food more than his Delver here, as this Grim Lavamancer can easily take out Delver of Secrets. Grim Lavamancer does clear the Delver. Josh with a Wasteland. Might look like a dead card against a deck that's playing all mountains as its mana base, but actually Wasteland can be very useful in destroying your own lands in response to a game-winning Price of Progress. Josh would be happy to find another Wasteland, and at that point, there is no way Price of Progress is going to end up mattering. Force of Negation, stopping a Price of Progress. Josh could have reset down to just a single basic, but at the cost of 2 lands, and at this stage, not willing to pay that price. Monastery Swift Spear coming down. And Josh using those like post-it notes for his food counters. I've actually been prototyping a new dry erasable token, calling them remarkable tokens. Same idea. You can see here, oh, a little glare. Goblins that are going into battle, goblins that are staying home, and then you can also just write the number here, however many there are. I've been liking those. I should probably just start playing stuff that use tokens on screen. We have another Price of Progress stopped here. Counterspells are getting eaten up. And now our Sulfuric Vortex. And that's another pitch counter. That is a lot of pitch counters from Josh. Oko just keeps on ramping up. And I feel like stealing the Grim Lavamancer would have been a consideration here. Josh has a pretty full graveyard. And he does make combat a bit of a mess. This is feeling like Josh is just so firmly in the driver's seat. He can probably take the 10th worst, the 10th best possible line and still be good enough. He does not have to play optimally from here in all likelihood to win this game, as Oko is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting for him. We've got a Lightning Bolt, taking out an Elk, growing Swift Spear, 4 damage coming in. Goblin Guide giving him yet another land. And he's got a Fire Blast. Oh no. This actually... It's a really dangerous situation here. Let's see if his life total... We've got a Preordain. I mean, that Fire Blast and having it not be lethal is pretty unorthodox. Typically, that's going to be saved to do the final points of damage. Grim Lavamancer blocking and then using his last breath to do 2 more damage. Suspending a Rift Bolt, but Oko can allow for 3 life per turn. I think that's just going to be too little too late, it would seem. Goblin Guide sends and shows yet another counter. This one going to be hard castable. Food being sacrificed. And the fetch land shuffling away the force. And again, getting that Goblin Guide, or getting that not Monastery Mentor, Grim Lavamancer would have been potentially worth it. Not the easiest thing to pull off. I mean, if they have mana open, they can just kill it in response, but there were some points in the game where that was a possibility. And it looks like a chump block happening here. And a Hooting Mandrills. That guy is gigantic, given this board state. That 4 toughness, going to be able to survive Rift Bolt easily. And the trample is, I think, really the reason people play that card. There's an awful lot of ways that you can actually just block creatures in this format with, you know, things with very little toughness, just throwing stuff in the way, but actually giving even additional reach is really something for a deck like Rug. Combines with Burn to just really put the game away. And we may actually see that here, with Goblin Guide not really able to block effectively. And that is going to do it. Looks like a bolt to the face to Burn. Which, you know, if you're going psychological warfare, it's a good way to finish the game against Burn. Just lightning bolt him right out of there. Yeah, Oko just pulling a ton of weight there. I've mostly been playing decks that try not to care about Oko. Cloud Post, what I've been on the last, I don't know, maybe month, largely doesn't care about him. A lot of the time you have to keep your candelabras in order to cast them and use them in the same turn, which is different than what you usually do against control. Usually against control, you'll throw them out there kind of early and put them in a situation where they have to Force of Will, which can be just as good, freeing up your other game-winning spells. Or, of course, if they don't have a Force of Will, it actually just hits, and that's it. If they don't have access to Oko, a lot of the time, removing permanents like artifacts can be a little bit too much of a pain. Even if they do have the ability to remove them, sometimes it's not super precise. Something like Angar's Rampage could potentially be traded off with other artifacts. You know, you've got Pithing Needles, potentially Golos, Expedition Map, depending on your list. But here we're just going to get back on Burn and Rug Delver. Oko absolutely matters versus Burn. Now, there's going to be some games where he's way too slow, which is nice. And Ben on the play again is going to hope to have that type of hand. Now, they often involve Goblin Guide. That is one of the strongest openings the deck can have, potentially representing like 6 damage for 1 red mana. He's got to fetch into the Goblin Guide. It does also allow for the card draw. Yeah, Goblin Guides in multiples are also pretty fearsome. Nothing like a reusable Ball Lightning, like turn 1 Goblin Guide, turn 2 Goblin Guide 6, and just knowing that you're going to be able to keep swinging. At that point, the burn often is just clearing the way. If some sad creature does attempt to stand in the way of that Goblin Onslaught, you can just get them out of there. With Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, most of the cards in the deck. Yeah, Lava Spike is not able to do that, and Rift Bolt is a little slow at it. There's also potentially Searing Blood and Searing Blaze, depending on the matchup. Whether or not those cards are good enough to have. Versus Delver, I think you really want pretty much as much of what would you say? You want things to be efficient. So something like Searing Blood or Searing Blaze can be very, very good. Just a ton of value. And we've got a Force of Will on this second Goblin Guide. The OG swings, gives another land. And Delver of Secrets comes down. We'll see if Ben attempts to ignore that and just go for the throat. Is often what Burn needs to do, which is one of the nice things about Searing Blaze, the ability to actually kill a creature while also applying the proper amount of pressure to your opponent's face. Really, the longer the game goes, the more, in theory, it favors Josh. He has the more powerful cards in terms of things like Oko and, I mean, I guess mostly Oko. But if we compare the creatures, I mean, you're talking about 4/4s in the form of Hooting Mandrills. The 3/2 Delvers are probably better than the creatures that are in Burn. I guess Eidolon might be a card that's kind of neutral there. It's going to make a lot of dead cards for Josh. But he does have many things that can play outside of that. And it looks like Dreadhorde Arcanist. Oh, and a Hydroblast, Pyroblast battle like it's 1993 again. But Force of Will, updating us to 1995 or 1996. Though this is the new art, so. Monastery, Swift Spear, and Fire Blast clears the way. And swinging for 4. Getting another land. It's like every time. I think Josh down to 6. Which is pretty dangerous territory. Another Dreadhorde Arcanist. And that Delver actually staying home, which is not really in his job description, but, you know, he's a team player. Do what's asked of him. And what's Burn going to do? You got to turn it sideways. You know a Hydroblast is coming. That's not particularly good news. Let's see how Josh manages these blocks. We've got a fetch. Looks like Goblin Guide blocked by the Dreadhorde Arcanist. And that's going to be 6 damage. I think he was actually at 6. Oh, wow. Wow. Nope, that is not what I interpreted there. So that was actually a Fire Blast just to clear the Dreadhorde. Josh was not... Actually, he did not let any one of those creatures through. So it was a blocking situation. Both of those creatures ended up dying. But Hydroblast takes out Josh's last permanent, and it looks like we're still going. I don't even know how the game's still going. This is crazy. Ben throwing out a Chain Lightning, which presumably will get Hydroblasted. Oh, able to fetch a double red to bounce it back. No, just taking the 3 and then sending it back. A Goblin Guide getting dazed. Ponder for Josh. At this point, Ben's pretty much just going to have to throw Burn at Josh's face until he's dead, and probably just get countered an awful lot along the way. Chain Lightning. Josh still with no actual clock. And he's out of counters? Looks like he's out of counters. And we are on to game number 3. I thought for sure. Wow, we need the life totals on here. Josh going to update his sideboard. All right, we're on to game 3 here. Ben toughed that one out. At one point had 0 permanents in play. It ends up top decking burn after burn spell, which is, what you're going to do with burn. I am not even sure what we're looking at there. I don't actually have the audio from the match, which is why there was some confusion there. Towards the end of that game, it was kind of shocking to see that Ben managed to actually win that. We've got a turn 1 Goblin Guide versus turn 1 Delver of Secrets. Big difference here, though, Josh being on the play. This time not drawing a land, but revealing a Ponder, knowing that Delver is going to flip. Let's see if I can play along here. It looks like he'd be at 17. Dreadhorde Arcanist coming down. And a Lightning Bolt clears the Arcanist. 2 damage from the Goblin Guide. Reveals a Hydroblast. That is not good news. And suspending a Rift Bolt. So this Delver may not be around for long. We'll see if Hydroblast tries to defend it. Oh, and again, he's got the other Delver. When Delver has a threat light draw, killing their Delver can be a major, major issue. When they're just spending their time cantripping into cantrips, if they can't actually have a threat on board, that is not a winning strategy. You really want to be improving your hand while you have something on board. And if all you're able to do is just keep digging, you're not really getting anywhere. You can't ignore the board when you're playing a deck like Rug Delver. It's actually part of the reason I think why people prefer the Green Splash is having access to some type of beefy finishers, be it Tarmogoyf or Hooting Mandrills. We've got a Brainstorm here, attempting to flip the Delver. And Hydroblast doing all sorts of damage. Flipping Delvers, playing defense, potentially going to be able to take out this Goblin Guide as well. Dreadhorde Arcanist, worth tapping out for. And he does get Lightning Bolt for the trouble. Down to 13, I believe, for Josh. Not quite lethal range. We've got a Flame Rift. Or Rift Bolt, I should say, sorry. Ben likely down to 8. I believe that's 4 swings from the Delver. A Ponder. I feel like Hydroblast at some point needs to take out this Goblin Guide, but I guess not. I don't know. Seems like he's done a lot of damage. We got Pyro and then Hydro. Rift Bolt. Crashes the system. We'll see if this comes back quickly. If not, I'll skip ahead for you guys. Yeah, it's back already. Let's see what Rift Bolt actually does. I mean, I feel like if you're going to Rift Bolt, you're either going face or you're killing the other Delver. You're totally fine attacking with Goblin Guide and having him block. Looks like Josh considering whether or not to counter, perhaps. And yeah, he's going to throw a Force of Will at that. Pitching Oko, that's a high-value card. Goblin Guide swings. And Price of Progress. And Fire Blast. Wow, I think we've got lethal here, guys. Wow. Yeah, I think I missed a 3 in there. I think Fire Blast plus Price of Progress, just classic burn, finishing out a game. Just tremendous reach, which is, you know, that's what it's known for. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.